What up, guys? Paradox back with more tech support. We're here today to go over heads part 4 and getting down to it. Really the lifters are a common problem in Ford 3.8, 3.9, and 4.2 S6 V6s. When you get lifter tick, really what it is if I just remove the lower intake manifold right here, you can hardly see it, but that sliver is your camshaft inside of your block. So this is called an in-block camshaft or overhead valve. And why they call this setup is because these are push rods that go from the camshaft to the rocker arm fulcrum that pivot at the rocker arm fulcrum on a spring. So as the camshaft rolls around in its timing, it is able to push down the valve in the engine and allow the intake to go in or the exhaust to come out. So say if this is intake, the camshaft's going to tell it by rolling on its axis and pushing that push rod up, which is going to make that spring go down, and the valve just underneath right in there open. So that's how an overhead valve engine works. The reason why these engines are so cool and we should keep them running is because they're very simple. So an overhead cam, they're different, where it's not a cam and block. So say my camshaft is right here. It's literally that simple to do the intake, compression, power, exhaust off its own mechanical timing. And it's very efficient. And what's awesome about it is it's still known to be the strongest capability because of purely simplicity. It's not going to chain systems where you're going to have to reinforce the shit out of it, where something like this, you just forge all these pieces right here and you have a very, very strong and efficient engine. So it's known as what's a push rod engine, a push rod overhead valve engine, instead of a single overhead cam or dual overhead cam where your cam isn't in your block. It's up here where the rocker arm, it doesn't have this push rod. It actually just goes on the valve itself, or the two valves themselves, into the cylinder head, which open up those two valves. So that would be the difference between an overhead cam and the single overhead cam, dual overhead cam, and overhead valve. When you get down to this, so I've already released the bolts on this. On the valve covers, it's just going to be 8 millimeters. This is what you'd see in the car. And then you're going to see right underneath that your rocker arms. So I've already pre-loosened these, which means that I've went through here with a 13 millimeter. And I've already pre-loosened these. I cracked them. I just kind of, put the thing on them and it went whack for time's sake. So when we get down to it, when I remove them, after you've broken them loose and you just go to remove this, I always pull the rocker arm away and hold the bolt to it. So as you release it, we'll just go to the next one. So as this is what's underneath it. As you release it, it'll let go. See what I'm saying? So you're fine. It's not just going to make you think that there's a spring, so it's going to push back on you. So as these come out, I'll always hold the bolt against them, and that's where people will have the issue putting it back together, is because these actually do come out. I'll just show you, because I've done this plenty of times. Actually, the bolt comes out too, so I can pull it all out together. But basically, you want to keep that all the same way. There's a frictional rubbing that happens in that kind of mates that as a pair. So when you take these apart from any other than that separation, they don't exactly roll like they used to. So what I do is I put these in what I call an engine map, which is where you have something like this plain box, like that, and you stab a hole in it, and this is still oriented like this, bang. Stab that, and there's scissors, bang. One. Technically that would be, I believe, an exhaust. Yeah, that's an exhaust valve on cylinder 4. So now that that's out, the push rod is actually instantly accessible. So you can actually just pull these out. They don't spring out or anything. The swedged end is kind of on both sides, but once again, it's more so friction oriented, whereas your engine's worn together, you want to keep it the same way. So what I'll do is with that same box, say I have a hole number 2, bang, and you literally have your hole set up as we go down, and we're just going to pop them all in there. So as you keep going, this is going to expose your head, and your spring is retained to your head, as I've shown in other videos. And how we remove this is check out my series. So we're going to go on to the next one and kind of keep removing these piece by piece and just show you that it's as simple as, we have one of the simplest engines to work on. Overhead cam guys, they say it's, well, it's 2 cams. You know, it's a cam for each side of the head. That rocker is on its own pivot into its own, just like that, cylinder. So as we go, bang, 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 bang. Yeah, pre-hit spots. Yeah, I'm just tearing these heads out because it's just, I already pre-cracked them, so I knew that was loose. So as of this, technically you can release the 8 head bolts. So these are the head bolts. You're going to see them 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's going to be right under here 5, 6, 7, 8. And these are the long ones. And the ones underneath here are your short head bolts. So when you replace them, that's how you do that. So with my other side over here, because we're going in for the cam right now, I'm going to pop some spots and show you how to do this. So that's that side head. Just real quick and easy, you can just kind of take it out. It's super easy. And then with the next side, I'm just going to kind of mimic what was on this side and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Pardon my symmetry. Just doing this real quick to show you. We want that cam. So, as I said already, oh, maybe not that one. Missed one, haha. Bang, 1, push rod. I would never have just impacted this if I would have known that that wasn't done, but I guess I missed one. Top. I missed 2. Just cracked them. So if you're going in for a camshaft, this is basically the only shitty part, other than having to retime it. But if you know how to mark your CPS like I showed you in my other video, that's a camshaft. It's super easy. We're actually going to go into that too. So this is all of my head hardware and how I would keep it and store it. It's just really easy to move and put away and do like that. Use a nice solid box. I used the ramen noodle crate. It worked perfect. So with this, we're able to kind of go engine front. Bang, now you know. So that's how you pull out your head in under 10 minutes. So now that we got that part put away, we're at what's called the rocker lifter roller valley, or the rocker valley. And to get at your camshaft, you have to remove what's right underneath these, or this is like a retainer that really kind of holds them into it. I don't know, I think that they can come out through the bottom, but when you pull this out, it really kind of comes out super easy. So as I said before, that I've already went through and I pre-cracked these, which means that I kind of, you know, went here just to make sure that we weren't going to have a real huge issue and just cracked them. These are going to be a size 8 millimeter. And when you remove these, it's kind of cool because they do have their own mini retaining clip that holds the 8 millimeter in it so that you can't lose the 8 mil off into the rocker valley down on that camshaft, because the camshaft, you know, is right there. So when you remove those, as long as you don't break these clips up too much, it actually just kind of held together. So now that it's sitting, I'm going to remove these ones too. I'll go over there in a second. This is when you hear lifter tick or pushrod engine, what's going on is that with the camshaft right underneath this balance shaft, so this is the balance shaft to reduce the vibrations in the engine, and you'll hear about the 94 to 99s not having this balance shaft, and they're a lot more vibrational sensitive. They're a lot more shaky engine, where this is balance shaft is made to cancel that out. So when you have the rocker rollers, hydraulic rocker rollers, lifters, how they work, the lifter itself pumps up with oil while it's hot. And basically what it does is they roll on the bottom side on the camshaft. And they sit in this top side, and it pushes that push rod up. So that when you hear lifter tick a lot of time, what's gone out is that this hydraulic cylinder inside of the lifter that is directly on the camshaft doesn't really seat so well anymore. And it's just not liking it like right now. So if you're looking to replace your lifters, oh, there they go. And what's cool is they can't really go into the engine. But what I'm going to do is, as soon as I pull that out, I'm going to kind of hang this right here, and I set it sideways against this. Usually I don't lose that screw, but I already cracked this off, and I'm putting that back together, so I'm just going to grab that in a minute. But yeah, so I pull it out and put it in there like that. Bang. Usually you can pull this cartridge out and not even lose them. But this engine's kind of been sitting here for a while, so I'm just kind of doing this video to show you how, when I repair or work with my head on this engine, just because it's easy, it can be done quickly. I'll show you on the last one and put this away. So, oh shit. Some people use a magnet this phase, but so what's going on is, with most hydraulic lifters, so I gotta remember this side up. Cartridge, which is that side up. If I want to make them back successfully with no issues. Magnet works great right now. Okay, so this is a lifter, and what's going on is, okay, in my brain, left side up. So what it does is it rolls on that camshaft down there, and as it does, this allows it to push on the push rod, which places against that. So it's at the bottom, taking a lot of the impact of it pushing away, which is when you're hearing the only pneumatic function of our engine, it's really this hydraulic push rod, which allows it to take impact. So like when you push on these, it's supposed to be, if the engine's warm, it's supposed to be pumped up, and it's not supposed to be able to be pushed down. Like right now, this is a good lifter. So if I push that down, it's even been sitting for forever. So if I can push that, if I can't push that down at all, that's a great pumped up used lifter. Where like if I were to pull this out, and what'll happen is I'll click it. And if I can click it, you'll hear a click. That usually means that it's not in the best condition if it's used and it's full of oil like this is. So that's really to kind of tell the condition of the lifter. So when you're down to the lifter and you see them, that's really where, when you pull them out each one by one, like I just did, and put it in the thing, I'll pull it out. And as I pull it out, I'll kind of click on it, and I'll check and see if it's gone, because there's some of them where there's nothing in there, you know. And when you're getting the smoke, the overheating, even before that, you're going to tell when you have like a lot of lifter tick and when your engine's just not running right. And that lifters are a common problem, not because of any other reason other than they're taking a lot of abuse over the course of the engine. So when you're going to your camshaft, this is really going to be the last thing in line. So I'm actually just going to take this one back out. Knowing that that's placed that way, replace it directly in there. Do the same thing with this side. I said I'll just come out in one. Okay, so we're going to do this one like I told you. And what I do is I'll take this and I'll set it up here. I'll pull the lifter out. I click on it. That was good. I knew that these lifters should all be decent. That one's good. Make sure it's straight there for a second. Great lifter. That was a little squishy, but up to a little squishy is decent, but until they're like falling through, that's when you're having like smoke issues, and you can tell you're hearing like a limp lifter. It sounds like rod knock, but it will lead to rod knock. So if you're hearing like onset, a lot of times if it's in the bottom, it's a lifter. You can save your engine before you destroy it with these two like that. So I'll pull that out too. That's how I'll save them. Lifters. Left side. So I'm just going to put this to the left of the other side. I just put it in it. So now that I've showed you what an overhead cam engine is, really, you know, how the rocker works, your engine's bare now. Like this is really, these are out, and then I've showed you in my other video how to remove the springs and the actual valves that actuate, you know, in mechanically from the crankshaft and everything spinning. So like this is where your 8 bolts on each side from removing this head and removing that head, which is the easy part. There's really nothing going on other than removing it and then prying the gasket off of it. So I'm going to kind of save you guys the putting it back on it for you video. And I'm just going to tell you that. So the bolts are right here. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you just remove them. And what happens is that when you peel this away, you're gonna have to remove the gasket, and there's gonna be everything going on right there. You just kind of gotta deal with it all at once. So I'm gonna kind of save that video for right now. And right up here is where you're going to want to like kind of bag the engine. A lot of times they'll use like a bunch of Walmart bags or anything like that, a blanket even that's in decent shape, to kind of put over this and make sure that, you know, a bunch of sediment isn't getting in. Or if not, how you're going to kind of address keeping this, you know, clean, you know what I mean, like as clean and sanitized, as nice as you want it, you know what I mean, like it's decent condition, because this is where you're going to get stuff in your engine. Any kind of metal or rocks kind of makes direct damage. So at this point, I'm going to make another video of how we actually remove the camshaft from the front and make sense of all the Woodruff keys and timing. But as of that point, I've showed you how to port the heads, remove the valve springs, remove the valves, remove the rockers, remove the rocker arm fulcrum bolts. So when you put these on, what happens is that there's no lash involved. So what happens with lash is it's one of the things with overhead cam, overhead valve, single overhead cam engines, where you have to actually tighten the sides of the valve, because, you know, it's kind of balancing over the valves, where with ours it's just one side of a push rod. So we're actually able to just torque rate this, and this is going to be a rocker arm torque rating of 26 foot-pounds. 26 foot-pounds for all these around. And what I'll do is that, so when these go around right now, there's different sets of pressure on the backside of the spring, and they're all supposed to have like the same torque rating. And what I'll do is I'll actually usually spin my crank if my engine's in good condition, and if I'm just trying to reset what I'd call, you know, the overhead cam lash of, you know, there's really no lash involved, is basically just rotate the engine crank 180 degrees each time you do this, and make sure you click it on your torque wrench twice, or, you know, these ones, and the rocker arm fulcrum bolts at 26 foot-pounds, and just click them twice at rotating the engine 180 degrees, click it twice 180 degrees, and make sure that you're getting all of your rocker arms sitting exactly on, so that when you put it back on there, it's really just made it up exactly how we took it off. So when you go back to assemble it, it's literally all you're doing is taking this back out, putting it back in that hole, taking this back out, putting it back on there, literally, and then you're back to assembled. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Check out all my videos if I've helped you out with your engines and been able to build it. I love the feedback. I love the shout outs on other channels for the tech support. Thank you guys for everything, and have a great night.